Welcome back everyone. In the last few lessons we learned about various methods for finding the roots of equations such as the Newton-Raphson method, secant method, or false position method, or inverse quadratic interpolation methods. So for all of these methods we learned about the algorithms, how they were used in practical scenarios and how they were used to find the roots of equations. So in this lesson we are going to learn about how one of these methods can be used in practical scenarios. So we will be talking about an electrical circuit. So let's dive into the details of this example. So this is an electrical circuit. It's a switching circuit, and there is a battery or voltage source V0, a capacitor C, a resistor R, and an inductor I. So whenever the switch is in initial position, that means in the left side, the capacitor will be charged, and whenever the switch changes its position to the rightward position, then the stored charge will dissipate through the resistor and the inductor. That's how the circuit works. So we have to find out an equation that governs the current or charge flow within this circuit. So for that we will use the most basic formulas of electric circuit elements. For example, the voltage drop across a resistor is denoted by this equation, V equal to IR. So VR is the voltage drop across the resistor, I is the current through the resistor, and R is the resistance value. So what we are doing here, so we are just calculating the charge or the current flow whenever the switch is in the rightward position. So that means initially our capacitor is being charged towards V0, and then the switch changes its position, and after that the stored charge will dissipate through the rest of the circuit. So we are considering the rest of the circuit for dissipating the current. We are not considering the situation whenever the switch is in the left position. We are not considering that situation. We are considering the situation whenever the switch is in the right position. So these formulas are valid for that position whenever the switch is in the right position. So the voltage drop across the resistor is VR equal to IR, and the voltage drop across the inductor is denoted by this equation, L into di by dt. So this differential term, which denotes the change of current through the inductor with respect to time, L is the inductance value. And the voltage drop across the capacitor, which is denoted by charge divided by the capacitance value, that means Q divided by C. So these three formulas, which denotes the individual voltage drop across each of the elements of capacitor, inductor, and resistor. So according to the Kirchhoff's voltage law, in a loop or within a circuit, the total voltage drop within each of the elements, the summation of these voltage drops will be equal to 0. So the voltage drop across the inductor is the first term, the second term denotes the voltage drop across the resistor, and the third term denotes the voltage drop across the capacitor. So summation of all of these voltages is equal to 0. That's the law of Kirchhoff's voltage, the Kirchhoff voltage law. So we know that already. So this is a differential equation, right? So look at this equation. In this equation we have two different unknown variables, the current I and the charge Q. So we have to convert this equation in such a way that there is only one independent variable. So for that we are using this formula, I equal to dq by dt. This is the definition of current. The rate of charge flow within the circuit is denoted as the current. So if we substitute this value, I equal to dq by dt, within this equation, then we will get this differential equation. So in this differential equation there is only one independent variable, that is charge Q, and all of the other terms is known. The capacitor, the resistor, and the inductor, these values are already known. So the independent variable which we have to calculate is the charge. So this is a second order ordinary differential equation. So we have to solve this equation numerically to find out the charge Q. We are not going to the details of solving the ordinary differential equation. That's not the main purpose of this course. So if you want to learn how to solve such a differential equations, you can go through standard textbooks of calculus, and you will find how to solve such a differential equation. So for now, we are just assuming that we know how to solve this equation, and we will get the equation of charge in this manner, equation 1. Look at this equation. In this equation, the charge with respect to time is denoted here. That means whenever the switch changes its position to the rightward, then as the time goes on, the charge within the circuit will change its value. That means it's a time dependent parameter. Charge is not constant, it's a time dependent parameter, because that charge will some of that charge will dissipate through the resistor R, and rest of the charge will move on to the circuit. So that's the main equation of our interest. So this is a charge equation with respect to time. Q naught is the initial charge. That means at t equal to 0, initially the charge was Q naught. If the charge was Q naught, we can calculate the charge in this manner, V naught times C, where V naught is the voltage from the charge battery. That means initially whenever the switch is changing its position, at that moment, right at that moment, the capacitor has a charge or voltage. The capacitor has a voltage equal to V naught. That means the voltage of the source. So as time goes by, this voltage drop changes its value, and because of the change of the charge. So this is our equation 1, Q of t equal to Q naught, and then exponential term. So this is from this equation we are going to use various numerical methods to find out various parameters. So let's dive into the details of those numerical methods. So we already know the equation of the circuit of the charge that flows through the switching circuit. So a standard problem that usually appear in various examples or practical scenarios is something like this, that you have to find out the resistance value to dissipate a certain amount of energy. So look at this problem. We are saying that we have to find the proper resistance R to dissipate energy at a specific rate when we know the values of L and C. So for example, you consider the value of the capacitance to be 10 to the power minus 4 Faraday and the inductance to be 5 Henry, and we want to find out the value of the resistance when the dissipated charge is 1% of the original value. So this is the question, that we have to find out the value of resistance when the dissipated charge is 1% of its original value. That means Q divided by Q naught equal to 0.01. That is 1%. So we have already got all of our values to insert into the equation that we have got in the previous slide, and using that equation we are going to find out the value of the resistance. So how we are going to do that? In the equation, if you remember, in the left hand side of the equation we had the charge Q of t, that's a time dependent parameter, and on the right hand side we had Q naught multiplied by an exponential term. So this is the so if we want to find out a solution of this problem, we are given that the dissipated charge is 1% of its initial value. That means Q divided by Q naught, which is given 0.01. So if we change the side of this term Q divided by Q naught and move it to the right hand side of the equation, we will get this total formula, and this is a function of resistance R, because in this function we know all of the values except the resistance R. So we need to solve this equation to find out the value of R. So look at this is a function of R, f of R, and we need to solve this equation to find out the R. So what kind of numerical problem is this? So I hope you already remember this is a root finding equation, because this is a function of R and we need to find the value of R. So that makes the problem a root finding problem. So let's see how we can solve this. So if we substitute all of the values that we are given in the question, then we will get these equation, e to the power something exponential something and the cos function minus 0.01, which is the charge dissipation rate that is given into the problem, 1%. So this is the whole equation. Look at this. After substituting all of the values and clearing up, we can see that there is only one unknown parameter, which is the resistance R. So we can solve this equation using any of the standard root finding methods like the second method, Newton-Raphson method, false position method, or the quadratic interpolation method, Muller's method. All of those methods can be used to solve this problem. So we can, so after, for example, after the 21st iteration using the bisection method, we will get a value of R to be 328 ohm with an error of only 0.0001%, which is very much accurate. So we can say that a bisection method gives a very convincing result, R equal to 328 ohm approximately, with a very low error. So that's the answer of this problem. So if we summarize all of those methods of finding the roots in one slide, we can see that we have learned about the bisection method, the false position method, modified false position method. Then we learned about fixed point iteration, Newton-Raphson, modified Newton-Raphson. These three are open methods, and the bisection and false position methods are bracketing methods. We already know the difference between bracketing methods and the open methods. Also, we have seen the second method, modified second method, and Muller's method. Although Bairstow's method is not covered in details in this course, but we are using those for our lab purpose. So all of these methods have been used and we have seen those methods in previous lessons. So there are some types, and the types are denoted here: the bracketing methods, open methods, and the hybrid methods. Also the polynomial finding, roots of polynomial equations. Also the number of initial guesses that are needed to solve those, to start those numerical methods, and the convergence, whether it is the slow converging or fast, whether it converges fast. So there's the column that shows the speed of the method. And also we have seen the stability of this method, whether the method always ensures that you will find a root or not. So that's the stability column here. For example, in the bracketing methods, we always get a root. That's why the stability is always ensured. That's why it is said always. And also in the open methods, we already know that in open methods we have only one initial guess, and that's why the methods are not ensured. So that's why we are saying here that they are possibly divergent. That means sometimes they could diverge in special examples. And also the Muller's method or Bairstow's method, they could also diverge as well. So programming, in the sense of programming, these open methods and bracketing methods are very much easy to implement, but these Muller's method and Bairstow's method, these methods are pretty much moderate. I would say they're moderate because they are not so complex, but they would you have to face some challenges to implement those methods in course. So that's the summary of all of the methods that we have learned to find out the roots of the equations. So that's all for today, and that's the end of the methods that we are using for finding out roots. So that's all for now. Thank you so much.